safety bases dropped in Atlanta, Georgia, January 24th. Thursday Thoughts edition of Soccer Down here. It's cold again. It can't make up its mind with the weather. It was warm yesterday, short sleeves. Now it's freezing, and we're back to winter again. And I think we're getting snow or ice or some form of winter weather here at some point soon. Is that where we're at?
Bite your tongue, sir.
It's been rumored, and the weather seems to go from it's going to be 20, it's going to be 45 in like 5 minutes of reporting. So who knows? It's cold right now. I don't like it. It's January though. We'll see what happens. It's cold in Toronto FC's camp these days. What in the world is going on with the Reds? I mean, let's get everybody caught up on Toronto. You had camp open with Sebastian Giovinco saying, well, there's been pretty significant offers for me, and I'd really like to stay here, but, there's been big offers. And the club's like, we haven't had any offers. Josie Altidore has said, it's been really nice here, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be sticking around. And then really no comment from the club on that. Michael Bradley hasn't said anything, I don't think, because he's been with U.S. men's national team camp. Then you've had trades. You've had Victor Vasquez being sold to a club in Qatar. You had Nick Hagglund traded yesterday for $300,000 in allocation money and the top spot in the allocation order. Oh, yeah, and by the way, at the end of the day, you send Gregory Vanderveel home from training camp because of, I believe it was an altercation, is what it was described as, with Greg Vanney over insubordination. And now you're starting to get some reports out of Toronto folks who cover the team on a regular basis that there was talk about potentially moving him on earlier in the offseason due to character issues. And, it is an absolute mess at the moment in Toronto where you have apparently two of your top three players, two of your designated players who don't know what their future is. You've had your starting right back sent home. He's not going to play for the club anymore. He posted a statement that was very interesting. We'll read that here in just a second. You have just a weird situation right now, and you're about a month away from CONCACAF Champions League. I thought Toronto was going to get back into the mix in the Eastern Conference, John, but you kind of have to worry about it with all of these things going on. This is a lot for Greg Vanney to deal with, and it's a lot for Ali Curtis to walk into.
Yeah, happy first year on the job if you're Ali Curtis.
First week on the job.
Yeah, for this being National Compliment Day, I'm trying really hard to find a compliment for Toronto FC, but I can't find one because of everything that's been going on. And
I got one. No, I got a compliment. They fleeced Cincinnati on allocation money and the allocation spot for Nick Hagglund. And I like Nick Hagglund. I think Nick Hagglund is a starting level center back in this league. I might be in the minority in that opinion, but $300,000 and the top allocation spot. I will compliment them on getting that much allocation money and the top allocation spot.
Okay, so a compliment to Ali Curtis.
Yes.
So there's your national compliment for National Compliment Day, even though apparently it's also National Peanut Butter Day, and that seems to be
should go together. I mean, those are two great things.
Well, yeah, but it looks like Toronto FC is playing in peanut butter right now with everything going on. Right now they're Team Chaos to me. They are hashtag Team Chaos coming out of the blocks here, and this is the kind of stuff that you don't need heading into the CONCACAF Champions League. You have two of your three players who are sitting there saying, and then an insubordination. I mean, having a player who's insubordinate and then, peace out, hit the plane, you're done. I've never seen a whole lot of stuff happen so poorly, so quickly to start a season. It's almost like the Yankees with George Steinbrenner and Billy Martin, except it was manager and owner as opposed. And, well, maybe if you talked about Reggie Jackson, maybe if you did that too. But that's the only thing that came to mind when I'm seeing all this stuff going down with Toronto FC, and it's stuff you don't need if you're trying to do something that you almost did last year.
Gregory Vanderveel's statement on his Instagram was this: "Dear Toronto, I called you home, and I was so happy that I had finally found a place that felt like that. Year one had ups and downs, but I found my joy back, and I could not wait to get started this new season. I was ready to give it all. Unfortunately, year two will never come due to differences with the coaching staff. I just want to win and do that no matter what the consequences are. I guess that mentality was a little too much for them, and they decided they do not need me for this season. Teammates and fans, I will miss you guys. All the best, Gregory Vanderveel." Jarrett, that's you could read that a lot of different ways.
That's a heel turn statement, man.
You think?
Kind of. Yeah. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but no one else is.
It is.
I took it as a heel.
It could be. I mean, it definitely could be. We don't know the other side of it yet, and I don't know if Greg Vanney will speak on it or Allie Curtis will speak on it. I think they're probably going to need to say something about it, because
I wouldn't blame them if they just put out a really tame statement. There's no sense, and the team doesn't benefit from this thing getting dragged into the pig slop. So
it's true.
Something just tame and, boring.
Gregory Vanderveel is no longer a part of Toronto FC. All issues concerning him have been handled internally by the club.
Well, it's not that simple, because are you just going to punt and just release him and just say, bye? It's going to be tricky, because you'd like to get something for him, so you don't want to slander him on the way out the door, because that's going to limit your market. I don't think you're just going to cut him. I think that would be kind of a waste, but how do you handle it? Because that's a pretty... It's a statement that needs to be addressed by Toronto. When Vanderveel says, I just want to win and do that no matter what the consequences are, I guess that mentality was a little too much for them. That's something Toronto has to address, either directly or indirectly, because that's a problem. That's a problem if you have somebody who you've sent home say that, well, my mentality of wanting to win no matter what is too much for the rest of the group and for the coaching staff. I don't know. I agree. I don't think it's going to help you to come out and trash the guy in a press conference. That's not going to help you, because, one, you'd like to get some allocation money or draft picks or something for him, or sell him for a cheap rate to a foreign club. You want to be able to do something, so you don't want to trash the guy before you do that. But I think at least indirectly you have to address this, because it's not in isolation. You've had the Giovinco comments for 6 months now. He doesn't know what his future is. You've had the Josie Altidore comments now from the end of the season and at the beginning of training camp. Don't know what his future is. Don't know what Michael Bradley's future is. There's a lot of questions in Toronto right now. And, yeah, they had a bad year last year. They had a lot of injuries. Things did kind of fall apart. I wonder, with all of this going on now, what Greg Vanney's future is in Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, that's a question that, until you said it, and I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, absolutely. I mean, didn't Vanderveel say at points that he thought that he was being played out of position and wasn't being played the way that he's normally used to being an attacking player, and they had him laying back 75-80% of the time?
No, he's not an attacking player. I don't know that part. He had to be played out of position last year because you had injuries all over the place. So he played center back a fair bit, and he's not a center back. He's a right back or a right wing back. So, yeah, I mean, sure, you can complain about that, but Vanderveel looks silly if you're complaining about that when your other options at center back were zero because of injuries. So, I mean, you had Michael Bradley and Vanderveel playing center back together. I think that was the center back pairing in the CONCACAF Champions League second leg final, and neither one of them are center backs. Injuries cause those things to happen. there wasn't a whole lot about Vanderbilt being a problem before this. That's why this was a little more surprising to me. It was if there was anything, it was more whispered. It was more small statements being made. It wasn't. You would have never expected something like this to blow up in Toronto media. And Christian Jack was all over it. Joshua Cloak from The Athletic was all over it as well. It is making the rounds in Toronto right now in a big way, and they have to address it quickly. I mean, the longer it drags out, the worse it looks.
No question. And I had read the Joshua Cloak material over at The Athletic yesterday, and it's, it started to come out with what Vanderbilt supposedly was behind the scenes, and you've got to say something, but you've got to be measured about it, because A, you've got to move on because you got stuff you have to take care of. B, you want to move on off the field and, in theory, get something for Vanderbilt. But, with this talk of insubordination, how does that affect his value, and how does that affect the bottom line of any transaction? It's like, well, he's this kind of guy. I don't know if we want to take on that kind of responsibility. If we do, we're going to have to, and they'll completely get lowballed and just talked down to when it comes to doing anything with him for any kind of a transaction, I would think, from this moment forward, because of that word insubordination.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Jared, I mean, we're talking about a guy who, before coming to Toronto, played 5 matches with Cagliari and in 11 matches the previous year with Fenerbahce, since the end of the 2015-2016 season that he finished up at PSG. 16 matches in those 2 years or year and a half before coming to Toronto, and he played 27 matches last year, and he was good. I mean, I was impressed with him, especially when he was able to play on the right side in his normal position. But what's the market going to be for a player like this who had questions when he came to Toronto? And on the field, I think he answered some of those questions, but now off the field, you have more questions. This is going to be a tough ask for Ali Curtis to get anything out of it.
Yeah, this is going to be weird in the fact that they're bantering around the idea of letting him loose. The fact that you were bantering around the idea, reportedly, of just getting rid of him, cutting him, not trying to get anything for him, is not a ringing endorsement. And it makes me wonder how bad it is. And, is it worth it for another team to look at him? And everyone's going to kick the tires because, why not? See if, you can kind of reset his situation where it was, it just wasn't working in Toronto, and you come somewhere else and everything could be okay. Or it could be, Milton Bradley, baseball player who there was no home for Milton Bradley, where things just would not eventually blow up into, chaos. It's not to say that Gregory Vanderbilt will tear his ACL arguing with an official, which is something Milton Bradley did. But this just, I don't know. Everyone will kick the tires on it, I'm sure. I don't know, with all what's come out, will Toronto would get anything for it?
I don't know. That's the problem. When this comes out and you're talking about insubordination and altercations with managers, that is going to make it very difficult to find a home in Major League Soccer. I think MLS clubs are going to hear that and say, why do I want to bring this guy in? Why do I want to have to deal with these questions? And if he's going to go back to Europe, you've got a week to get this done. You're not going to get much here. If you get anything, you're not going to get much. It might even be something where you have to loan him out and have an option on it to buy and just get him off your roster and hope that maybe you can get something for him later. You're going to be really limited here. And that hurts Toronto, where they're trying to figure out what the future holds for TFC. You've got your 3 designated players in the final year of their contract. I think the chances of all 3 coming back in 2020 are 0. I just don't see any way all 3 come back. who does? Do any of them come back? Who knows? Is this time to shut it down and start to look towards 2020 and beyond? Is this time to see if there are any offers within the league for a Bradley, for a Giovinco, for an Altidore, and get what you can now and start looking ahead? It doesn't feel like that with the additions they've made. Adding Laurent Simon, adding Nick DeLeon. You're adding some guys who are veterans in this league and feel like stopgaps in a way to get what you can out of 2019. I think we'll see pretty quickly in the season if Vanderveel was more of an outlier and wasn't truly part of the squad and had an influence on the squad, or if his absence is felt. The reaction from the rest of the squad to this will be really fascinating, and I hope that's covered by Toronto media, because those are always the questions that come up here. Was Vanderveel just completely out of it and completely in the wrong here and on his own, solo in how he felt about this? Maybe. I mean, it does happen. Or is there a bigger issue and he was the one who cracked? We don't know. And we'll have to wait and see. But I think most were already looking at Toronto pretty strongly going into 2019. This only accentuates that. What is Toronto going to be in 2019? Are they going to be a top 3 team in the East, or are they going to miss the playoffs again? And right now, I think you can make pretty serious arguments either way, John. Or Jarrett.
Yeah, no, it's Toronto's just an enigma right now, and it's, I don't know, I kind of get antsy dealing with Toronto because I think we've talked about this before about how just they weren't good for so long, and then they were, and I wonder how much of that their anxiety there is of, y'all, we got to keep this going. We're not going back to that basement, and you might go back to the basement if you're not careful. It doesn't have to be a long-term thing, but it's so weird the way this team has gone from being, a team that was very close to winning back-to-back MLS Cups, first team to win a treble, and now everything has just completely, from the outside view, 1,000 miles away or so, a couple hundred miles away. However, I can't measure distance.
Jarrett, a few miles away. I'm gonna have to stop you here and hit the air horn.
Oh, good thing.
A couple times. We have a tweet from Mr. Darren Eels. Not in the evening, LZ dash in the morning. And whilst she may not, semicolon, we certainly shall. ... 5 stripes don't stop. Let that one marinate. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Atlanta United just tweeted out, "Are you ready, Atlanta?" And they shared Darren Eales' tweet that we're still trying to figure out the reference here. I'm excited to see who gets this first, because I don't have my Shakespeare up in front of me this morning.
I don't have my Eels to English LaRousse handy.
I'm intrigued to see the explanation on this one. That's almost as fun as the actual announcement. Is okay. What is Darren going to refer to in his tweet to tease it? And this one, I don't know. Anybody help us at Soccer Down here, please? This would be this will be a good one. I need to learn something this morning. Alex _ KY87 has a question. Somebody needs to help him. With everything going on right now, the Pitti announcement, the Miggy situation, Alex's question is tacos or burritos? Tacos. I think it's always tacos.
Tacos when they're done right.
Tacos.
Just a corn tortilla and,
I think any kind of taco, honestly. Burritos are fine, but tacos are special.
Tacos are wrong.
They're not the best. Every once in a while, they're a fun diversion. But yeah, that's a little different. Robert Swick says, "I literally think the word to follow is pity." I mean, we're getting that it's going to revolve around that. Sherbs might be onto this. Haha, Sherbs is onto this. Sherbs is the big winner today. Sharing it from Mick, who I don't think follows us on Twitter. It's a Led Zeppelin reference. That's what Mick is saying, and Sherbs is on it. She don't show no pity, baby. She don't make no rules. From In the Evening.
Yes.
Nicely done. You think Shakespeare, and it goes to Led Zeppelin.
Go
to
Darren
Eales.
Wow.
I was thinking that, or we're going to go like
Plant
Charlotte Bronte or something.
No, it's Led Zeppelin, Jarrett. You can stop trying now.
It is. It's Led
No,
Zeppelin.
I was saying where I was trying to go with it in my head. That
you were
all
going
the wrong
from Shakespeare to
directions.
Bronte. Yeah, that's... Yeah,
No, I'm
Robert
not saying
Plant's
what it
on
is
one
or what
side.
it isn't. I'm
no,
saying I was wrong.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying like going period from Shakespeare to Charlotte Bronte is something. It went completely to Robert Plant, way over in the other side of the room. That's nuts. I like it.
Still surprising he ever recorded an album with Alison Krauss.
And it was excellent, actually. It was very, very good.
Yeah.
It was
All
good.
right.
I just thought it was overproduced, but the content was really good. I was just mad at the production.
We will continue on with Grammys down here, probably at about 3:45 in the morning on the next Thursday after a full moon, because that's what we do around here. It happens. But it looks like there's about to be an announcement. So you might want to turn your notifications on if you follow Atlanta United or anybody else associated with it, because my guess is there's something incoming, and maybe it's at 9:30, because a lot of times it's a round number where these things happen, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's a surprise here in any way. I think this has been pretty obviously something that would be coming. It's pretty cool that this is...
I hope a lot of people just tweeted at LZ Granderson, the journalist, and just started asking him random
That's
questions.
what I had in my head at one point. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't go there yet. I was still in Shakespeare. I was like, man, it's got to be a Shakespeare reference. Robert Plant and Shakespeare. Okay. Yeah, it works. It can work. Yep. So as we were talking about with the transfer window when it came to Vanderbilt, we're a little over a week away from the window closing. It'll be, 5 o'clock Eastern that it closes for the UK? Is this correct?
Is it 5 or 6? Because I think it's 11 o'clock the chimes at Big Ben, so I think it's 6 Eastern. Yeah, I think
Are
it's
they
6
5
hour
hours
time,
ahead
11.
right now?
I think so.
Okay. I can't keep up when it's 5 or 6 hours ahead
either.
because of weird daylight savings rules that are different in different places. So, yeah, I mean, there's time. It feels like there's not much time. There's time. We'll talk about what's going on with that time as well, because you had some new things emerge yesterday. Even if it's just talk, I think it does advance the conversation a bit. Tofka TLC with a tweet that we definitely have to take under advisement here. Let's all take a moment and say thank you and appreciate Darren Eales, who is without question the best club president in the world. From his character, his personality, and his success in the job, I want no one else ever. It's pretty special when you are teasing an announcement about a player with a Led Zeppelin lyric. That's pretty cool.
That's strong.
I don't think there's many club presidents who are going to be able to pull that one off.
That's, the references are absolutely amazing. And to have someone who is that plugged in, who likes to have that much fun with what a fan base is doing, I mean, it's priceless to have that kind of interaction with a front office and with someone in the front office. And
it's a big part of everything. I mean, that's something that has to be understood here. Is it is a big part of why people are so emotionally engaged with this. I mean, from Darren first just getting here and going on a 2-year pub tour and having a beer and talking to people. That was the biggest thing. That it sounds really simple, and it's something that I think every club in this league can learn from. Just go listen. Just go listen to people. Go listen to people in your community. Go out and talk to them. Go out and ask them what they want to see, what they would like to see. And listen. Don't just ask to do it to have a focus group because somebody tells you should have a focus group. Go truly listen. That's what's important here. And Atlanta United did a great job of that. And Darren, led the way in a lot of ways with going out and meeting people and listening. And that's why people feel like they're part of this. Because in a lot of ways they are. Because their thoughts, their hopes, their aspirations for what Atlanta United could be were voiced and were heard. And all of that has come together to form what Atlanta United is. It's pretty amazing in honestly how simple it is. But not many clubs do it.
Yep.
And you so often get the opposite, where you're getting clubs telling people how it's going to be instead of listening to what those people might want to see. It's very, very obvious in a lot of ways, but it just doesn't happen enough. And that's something that, we'll always talk about because had a chance to see it firsthand. I mean, Joe Boss, how awesome is it to have a president like Darren Eales? He's just the best, the GOAT. The Led Zeppelin lyric probably does make him the GOAT, in my opinion. So I can't wait to see what the next one's going to be. I mean, we've had so many different types of references in these announcements lately. Where are you going to go next, Darren? What do you have next on your list? That's what I'm waiting to see.
And knowing Darren, it probably took him like 12 seconds to figure it out. It's like, yeah, how about I go here?
I like to think that he has a list of these put together.
That's what I'm thinking.
He runs them by the staff, and whichever one confuses people the most, that's what he goes with.
All right. Well, it is official, ladies and gentlemen. breaking news. Atlanta United has signed Pity Martinez. The tweet is, he conquered Argentina, he conquered South America, but he's just getting started. Welcome, Pity Martinez. Video's out, everything's official, and there you go. Now continue to massively freak out about designated players. But here's a couple things that you need to keep in mind about Pity. The nickname. I didn't know where it came from for the longest time, and this was something I wanted to dig into. He got it when he was 5 years old. There is a bird that is common in Mendoza, Argentina, where he's from, the Pititora. It's a little bird. It's described as a playful bird. He was given that nickname at 5, and he doesn't respond to Gonzalo. He's Pity. He's always been Pity. He grew up as a fan of River Plate. His father was too. He's one of 7 kids. I think half of his brothers and sisters were Boca fans, and the other half were River fans. He sided with his dad. He said this when all this started coming to light, and we've heard some of these quotes before, but it's a little different now that we know it's official. Pity Martinez is an Atlanta United player. He said, I made the decision together with my family. It was time to take the next step forward in my career. I saw the U.S. League in a positive light. They showed me a mountain of things. It was tough for me to decide, but the European teams were not as eager to sign me to pay the amount of money River wanted. But this club did. They trusted in me. That's a big part of this. They trusted in me, is what he said about Atlanta United. He said, I'm a man of my word. We made the decision. We gave the okay. And from there, everything went step by step. Without difficulties, I believe the people from Atlanta are very serious. I liked this a lot, and it convinced me. The thing about trust, you have to keep this in mind when you look back at his River Plate career. He was signed from Huracan for around $4.5 million in January of 2015. And he won the Copa Libertadores with that squad, but he wasn't the focal point when he first got there. When players moved on and he became that focal point, he struggled a little bit. I mean, to the point that he scored a goal in early 2016, and he shushed his fans because of all the talk about him not living up to that deal. And to go from there in 2016 to the response you saw at El Monumental with the celebration after winning the Copa Libertadores, and this was weeks after winning the Copa Libertadores, when they finally were able to get back to their fans and celebrate with them, the reaction to Pity and the songs being sung and just, being a legend at the club 2 years after, not being a favorite at all among the fans. I mean, he had a car vandalized, and that was, part of this whole thing was, did River fans really want him to go that badly? He turned it around just immediately, and it's really amazing to see somebody bounce back in their career that way. It shows a ton of heart. It shows a ton of persistence, and it shows that coming to MLS and coming to this challenge, coming into a championship team, it's not easy to do. And likely replacing, at least, in the long term, maybe not the immediate short term, but in the long term, replacing Miguel Almiron, who, this is a 2-year-old club, but he's a legend. A lot of people would look at that as, man, those shoes are too big. They talk about it in Argentina and Latin countries many times, that the shirt is too heavy. That's what people said about Pity when he first went to River. You saw how he handled that. I don't think the Atlanta United shirt is going to be too heavy for him because he's been through it and he can rise to the occasion. And Kaku, who came up with him at Huracan, I think Kaku is a little bit younger, didn't play with him a ton coming up, but Pity was the guy at Huracan when Kaku was on his way up, and Kaku was like, this guy's going to be amazing for this league. Yeah, there's no question. And we've heard the comments from LGP about it as well. This is a guy who also, in the biggest of big moments, when River played Boca, and after the Copa Libertadores final, I think everybody in Atlanta now has a better understanding of what that kind of rivalry truly is. It's bigger than anything you can compare it to in this country. Who dominated that series in recent years? Pity Martinez. They sing about it in the song, and we're not going to quote the lyrics, but you get the picture. He destroyed Boca Juniors in the biggest of big games. That's what he was known for, was stepping up in the big moments. The guy has a confidence on the field that I don't know if there's a player that's been in Major League Soccer in its history that has that kind of confidence and swagger. I don't know. Maybe a Marco Echeverri from the very early days. Maybe a Carlos Valderrama from the early days. He has a different way on the field than most. He will try stuff. He will pull out goals and moments that will just make your jaw drop because he has that belief in himself, because he's done it. He's done it on the biggest of stages. He's a great dribbler, great on free kicks, just can score with either foot, can score from distance, will never turn down the opportunity to hit a volley. I mean, this guy is just amazing. And before we go to break, there was an article at Golazo Argentino, which is a great site for Argentine soccer, and they talked about when this was all but done a little while back. This is the quote from that article. It said, "No River fan resents him making the move. They know the economic reality of the sport in Argentina means star players regularly move elsewhere to earn exponentially more. Who can blame them? All they really have to say about the memories Martinez has given them is a simple gracias, Pity." There was no friction about him leaving. There was none of that. Everybody knows this is a big opportunity for him. One, to make more money, to live a different kind of life, to come to a club that is very well respected as well. And potentially, as Pity has said too, he sees what it's done for Miguel. He wants that opportunity to go to Europe. There wasn't a European club who had that trust in him to commit the money yet. If he comes here and is a superstar, he will get that opportunity. And that's okay. That's a good thing. Again, it feeds what Atlanta United is. It is a big club in this hemisphere. There are bigger clubs in Europe right now. There is a building process to get to that point. Atlanta United wants to get there. But these types of moves are a big part of it. This is the first time the reigning South American Player of the Year has come to Major League Soccer. Carlos Valderrama is the only other player in MLS history who has won the South American Player of the Year award. He won it in 87 and 93. He came here in 96 when Tampa Bay Mutiny launched, and he was the number 3 voted player in the South American Player of the Year ahead of coming here. Pity's the first one who was given the award and is immediately coming to Major League Soccer. This is a huge statement for MLS. This is a huge statement for Atlanta United. It's a big statement for Pity Martinez as well. And this year, which we already knew was going to be pretty fun, when you add a guy like Pity to it, you're going to see some things that you just haven't seen before from players in Atlanta United kits. It's going to be special. He's a special kind of player. He's a player who's worked into the Argentine national team right now, and I don't think that's going to change because of this move. So that might be your first time when Argentina plays next that an Atlanta United player wears the Albiceleste jersey representing Atlanta. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. It kind of feels like a whole new world here. So we're going to take a break. Love to hear your thoughts now that it's done. Tweet at us at Soccer Down here. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, January 24th, the day that Pity Martinez officially became an Atlanta United player. Love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear your questions. Please share them with us on Twitter at Soccer Down here. John, what do you think about this deal finally getting done?
Well, I mean, you've got a week left in the window overseas, and there are options if something doesn't happen overseas. I'm looking forward to Champions League and seeing if something does not happen one way or the other, what the Champions League lineup was going to look like. Your breakdown before we went to commercial, I'm looking forward to just the fun factor of all of it. And you know, when you see something like this, and it is one of those moments for the league, it is one of those moments for Atlanta United and for the sport here in the U.S. And I'm looking, like you said, there's an anticipation now that it's official. Not that there wasn't anticipation before, but now that everything is signed and I's are dotted, T's are crossed, I'm looking forward to now seeing how everything plays out. And from a league perspective, I want to see how many other teams make these same kinds of steps. From an Atlanta United perspective, give them a couple of years. Do it in a couple of years from now, because I want to see it play out here in front of us first. But the anticipation for me is now elevated for a very busy year and a very fun year. And so I'm looking forward to it, and I imagine that jerseys will be flying off the shelves in very short order.
Yeah, Jared, I mean, it's not like we didn't know this was going to happen. I don't think this caught really anybody by surprise, but what does it mean to you now that, okay, Pity Martinez is part of the Atlanta United roster and part of the Atlanta United family? How excited, what does this mean for you as you look forward to the 2019 season?
It tells me that, the whole five stripes don't stop thing is, I mean, it's kind of I think we kind of chuckle at it sometimes, and not to demean it, but it's pretty dadgum literal at this point. I mean, they won the cup last year, giving up just 2 goals in the playoffs and just pacing people. And they are trying to get better. And that's what I always like to see in any sport is, you can be great, but it can get sideways really quickly in sports. And they just continue to try and raise the bar. They're not going to stop trying to get better and better. And look, I don't know what the next move is after this. But at the same time, I'm also fairly confident that there's another move a year or two down the line that's pretty daggum terrifying as far as, Atlanta United trying to improve and make things even more dangerous. It's just mind-boggling how they've just tried to up the ante every year. Lord only knows what 2020 or so holds with Atlanta trying to do it again.
And that's where it stands right now. Is the club doesn't sit back and find satisfaction in what it's accomplished so far. It's just continually moving the bar higher and higher. It's something Paul Tenorio mentioned in his article yesterday about designated players and the whole rule about it. I thought he had a great point at the end. He said, at the very least, MLS rules should drive rather than limit the aspirations of the league's ownership groups. Right now, there's limits. There's limits. The LA Galaxy would like to have less limits. Atlanta United would like to have less limits. I think Toronto potentially would like to have more opportunities to do things. We'll see how their strategy changes with these three guys all up at the same time. I don't think Toronto's going to necessarily cut back their spending in a big way. I do disagree with people thinking that, but they might take a minute to regroup. I think there's other teams in this league who would like to spend more. And as more ownership comes in with the ability to spend, now you have Sacramento with a billionaire joining the Republic's ownership group as they look to get into MLS. We've talked about the different ownership groups that are trying to get into the league that have resources that the league's never seen. Columbus now has resources that they never had before. Robert Kraft is looking at what Arthur Blank is doing, and he's like, man, I could do some of that. I really could. Why am I not? It's time to do it. Let's do this. Let's build a training facility. Let's go try to sign some players. I think there's still a lot of things in-house they need to clean up, but, hey, you're seeing investment. It's time to open it up, I think. It's time to stop thinking that you can't do it. I think Atlanta United is showing that American and North American clubs, Canada, North American clubs can live in a different world than they used to. It doesn't have to be small and nice and casual and cute and all those types of things. It doesn't have to be that. It can be big. It can be audacious. It can be something that says, you know what? We want to be the best in this hemisphere. And we're not satisfied with that either. Once we get there, we want to be among the best in the world. And the argument has always been, well, you can't. Why? You can't.
Why not?
You can't compare yourself to Liverpool. Why not? You just can't. Why? Today, are they? No, of course not. Liverpool has, decades and decades of history and resources that MLS clubs don't. But why do you keep telling yourself you can't? Why is that the overriding idea of American soccer? Why is that inferiority complex there? You have to be, I think, respectful and understanding of, no, you're not there right now. There's a lot of work to do. Lots of work to do to get there. But why are you saying you can't? And that's what I love about what Atlanta United's done in its short history. They don't care about what people are saying you can and can't do. You can't get the South American Player of the Year. Why not?
Watch.
You can't get the most promising young player from the continent. Why not? You can't get Miguel Almiron. Why would he go to MLS? Why not? And you did it. You can't win a title in 2 years. Okay. You can't open the stadium and draw 70,000 people on a regular basis. You're going to have a bunch of empty seats. Okay. Whatever. And you just keep proving people wrong. It's amazing to see. And I really want the rest of the league to stop with this, well, Atlanta can do things that we can't. Stop it now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hope that the rest of the league kind of looks at this and goes, yeah, we're just going to start doing that now. And it doesn't have to be at the same scale. You know, you don't have to drop $15 million on Ezequiel Barco or whatever the cost is going to be for Pity Martinez. It doesn't have to be that scale. But I hope the rest of the league looks at this and goes, yeah, we're going to do something on that, to that extent. Maybe not to that grandiose, Handel's water music kind of thing, but just know that the envelope is meant to be pushed. And if you don't, you are going to be the Mufasa to everyone else's herd of wildebeest.
Nice reference. I like it.
I watched the movie the other day with a kid. It was tragic. I was forgetting how tragic that movie is.
Yeah, very tragic. Hopefully that's not the case with us. It's a situation where, yeah, obviously different clubs have different levels of resources, different things they can bring to bear, for sure. But as a whole, Major League Soccer has to look at this and say, we're going to stop with the belief that we can't, and we're going to start thinking that we can. It's just that simple. Find how you can be the biggest club that you can be. Miami will be able to do some big things. Some very different things than Nashville will. They both start next year. That doesn't mean Nashville can't be the biggest possible club that they can be. Same for Columbus, same for Kansas City, same for Minnesota. You don't have to spend insane money to make all these things happen. You have to be smart. You have to have a plan. And you have to get the right people in place who are not going to look at this in the old ways. That's what Atlanta United's done. That's what other clubs who are succeeding around the league have done. And hopefully that becomes the norm around the league, because I think this is the time. And Arthur Blank said it to us yesterday when Mike Conti and I had a chance to interview him. The rising tide does lift all boats. That's the idea here. Atlanta United wants to lead the way. They are. Flat out, they are right now. And I hope that other clubs in this league rise to that challenge and don't say, well, we can't. It's time to eliminate that one. Find your way to be like this. Find your way to be the best. If it's investing in the best youth coaches you can find to develop your own talent, do it. Whatever it is for your club, find you and do you in the biggest way you can possibly do it. It's going to be fun to see. But Pity Martinez is going to raise the bar for this league in a way that I don't know if we've seen what's about to come before in this league. It's pretty cool. Let's take a break, come back, wrap up hour number 1 after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. 568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Wrapping up hour number 1. A little bit of news this morning. Pity Martinez is officially part of Atlanta United. The video's out. Darren Eales has tweeted cryptic things. It's all done now. The announcement is out there. Press conference tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal. Tafka says the MLS landscape is going to look really different by 2024. I think it's going to look really different faster than that. I really do. I think this is another one of those steps that the league needed to take. We'll push it forward, and I want to see the response now. I want to see who else is going to say, man, it's time to do something different here. It's time to do this big. I want to see who that's going to be. It's exciting to look around and see who that could be. I think you're going to see a lot of incremental growth between now and 2024 for sure. But 2026, when there's a World Cup here in this country, John, this league needs to be ready to explode, because that's when you'll have the TV, the mainstream media, the sponsorship, all of those things ready to go in the build-up to a World Cup. And at the end of that World Cup, I think MLS has the potential to be among the biggest leagues in the world.
Yeah, I know that was yesterday we were trying to figure out where we each thought MLS was as a league on a worldwide stage. And I think I had it at 7, and you guys had it, top 10. And to Tafka's point and to your point, I think it's going to be looking really different long before 2024. But with the World Cup coming just around the corner, this is the chance for MLS as a league and for these owners who, like a Robert Kraft, can make some kind of a statement to sit there and really push everything forward. And, I think it's going to be a lot sooner than 2024, but I want to see who else steps forward to continue to take this in the direction that Atlanta United is doing.
Yeah, I think Miami kicks things up a big notch in its first 2 years, and I think by 2022 it's going to look really different. Then there's going to be another big jump, and then after the World Cup, it's going to be ready to absolutely take off. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to be part of this and keep up with all the stories as they come. We're going to take a break, come back for hour number 2. Lots of tweets. We'll get to those. We'll get to now part B. How do you handle the roster situation? We'll get to all that after this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2 of the Pity Party. Pity Martinez, Atlanta United new player press conference tomorrow morning. Announcement is out there now, finally, and already seeing the questions, Tafka and Thomas Jewin. What number is he going to wear? I don't know if you need to answer that just yet, and I wouldn't even go there because you've got a week in a transfer window to figure out what's going to happen with Miguel Almiron, who is currently the number 10. Things took an interesting turn yesterday, and I saw lots of takes on this, twisting it in lots of different ways, but let's just get the basics first. TalkSport in the UK posted an article about Tottenham being a possible destination for Miguel Almiron. Now, they'd been mentioned with Miguel Almiron before, but this was basically speculation. This was basically looking at it and saying, well, Tottenham's got some injuries. They could probably use Miguel Almiron. There's links. That would make a lot of sense. That was the way I read the article. Guys, is that kind of how you took it? Like, there wasn't anything like Daniel Levy has spoken to Darren Eales about Miguel Almiron and an offer's on the table. It was none of that. It was just speculation.
Yeah, it was. I took it as them throwing a theory up against the wall. I have seen no words one way or the other. Can you do your voice again about the story that didn't happen?
Well, now I can't do it on demand. I'm not that good.
Daniel Levy decided to have a conversation with Atlanta United. You know, that guy, the movie phone guy.
Yeah, I did go movie phone guy. Okay, cool. I don't know where that came from.
Movie phone voice, movie phone guy voice. No, that was not what I took it. It was just like TalkSport sitting there going, hey, here's an idea. And that's where it was.
However,
Jared,
so now this is out there. It's being talked about.
What's up?
That's a good thing, right? That you're having conversation about, well, it would make sense if Miguel Almiron maybe went over here instead of here, and they could really use him. I took it as a good thing because maybe it puts a little more pressure on Newcastle.
Maybe. I never know how to take rumors coming out of England. Usually I just take them and put them in the trash because I never know what's serious and what's not. So prove to me otherwise, and I'll take you out of the trash. But this, what are we at, the 24th now? What do we got? 7 days left?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, this is going to be a long 7 days. Because all this can turn, it's not like this, it'll be different tomorrow morning. No. It can be different in 30 minutes.
Yes.
It can be different less than that. So, what was it, Thursday today? By tomorrow morning, we could, our first hour could be just absorbed with rumors of, like, I don't know, Galatasaray has put in a $35 million bid for Miguel Almiron. That's happened most likely, but
it can happen.
But that's my point. Is it can turn that quickly. So this roller coaster is under construction as it is running, as terrifying as that is.
Yeah, it's normally not how you want to do it, but it is what's going on here.
I don't know how much Roller Coaster Tycoon you played. But.
Yeah, I tried to avoid that. I was more SimCity anyway. So you're in a situation where right now you have 4 designated players. So do the LA Galaxy. You have until March 1st to become roster compliant and have 3 designated players on your roster. You have different routes to making that happen. But Route 1, which has been the route from middle of last season, has been... Yeah, no, I don't want to know. I wouldn't go jump. It's honestly probably since the middle of last season where it's kind of obvious that, okay, you're going to have attention, real attention, from Europe for Miguel Almiron. It's time to plan accordingly. And that's what is being worked on. Doesn't guarantee somebody cuts a check because you can't control the other side of a deal like this. But it's the time where you start to plan ahead. And as we've talked about, you don't go into this without a backup plan, a plan B. I still think the backup plan is to find a loan for Ezequiel Barco if you're not able to sell Miguel Almiron to a European club for the money you are asking by the close of the transfer window next Thursday. You got a week and a few hours. That's what you're looking at right now. There are a variety of ways to solve this within those 2 parameters, but those are your parameters barring a rule change at Major League Soccer, which I would not expect at this stage ahead of a season. Your parameters are transferring Miguel Almiron to get him off of your roster or loaning Ezequiel Barco to get him off of your roster. I guess there is a very slim chance that you would loan Miguel Almiron to get him off of your roster, but I think that would be the absolute plan C, and it's not likely because of the timeline unless it is related to the first option of a transfer, and it has to go down that way to get things done in this short period of time. You're going to move one of those 2 guys. I don't think you're going to transfer Ezequiel Barco. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it is literally down to transfer/loan/get Miguel Almiron to a club and get money that you think is the right price for him. Transfer is your by far number 1 option there. Loan of Ezequiel Barco is your backup option. Your timelines, so you understand this going in. This is what you need to know. January 31st is the close of the incoming transfer window for major European leagues and for Mexico. Now, time zones make those stoppages a little different, but it is January 31st, 11 p.m. is what it is in England. I believe that's what it is in each country. But that's your timeline here. To move a player to a major European league or to Mexico, it's January 31st. February 2nd is Portugal, which could come into play on a loan option for Barco, but probably not likely. Your window in Argentina for incoming closes February 20th, and that would be on the loan side for a Barco. Your window closes in Brazil in April, but that's after your roster compliance date of March 1st. But that is another option for a loan. That's your dates. That's what's on the wall. That's what you're looking at. So those are your options. I don't think lobbying for a rule change is going to be the way to spend your time right now. I don't think that's going to happen. It needs to happen down the road. It does. But getting it right now for this season, I just don't think it is going to be the case. Design Dribble on Twitter with a great question. And, John, I'll get you first. Could the Spurs news out of TalkSport just be Darren Eales using connections to light a fire under Newcastle?
Sure.
You think maybe there was a phone call that came into the TalkSport offices that was maybe Mr. Darren Eagles?
Yeah, Darren Eagles. I'm thinking.
Say, hey, I heard something.
Hey, maybe. I've got connections to this Tottenham Hotspur place, and with their injuries, they might need somebody. It's lighting a fire under Newcastle to me is a relative term, considering right now the way that it looks is that the playing C, D, and E for Rafa Benitez might be coming more and more to the fore as we get closer to the end of the window. They're looking at 2 loans, one from Atletico Madrid and one from Monaco, but the player from Atletico Madrid doesn't want to go to Newcastle, and he might end up going to Monaco instead. So we might end up with playing D, E, and F for Rafa by the time that the window closes in a week.
And I don't think that's going to be enough for Rafa to stick around.
Nope.
And again, that's where you're at. That's the other side on Newcastle is Rafa Benitez has reportedly said, I'm out unless you get these deals done, and Miguel's the one that I want. So do it. Stop trying to bring laser discs back at HMV and get this deal done.
Ooh, laser discs.
Yeah. And apparently, according to numbers that were revealed by the Chronicle, which has become must read for all of us these days when it comes to keeping an eye on Newcastle. Newcastle is top 20 in the Deloitte Football Money League.
How is that decided upon?
Performance in the window. It's broadcast revenue, income, and the bull market of the value itself. Newcastle earned £179 million last year, up from 85.7, ranked as the 8th highest earners in English football, 19th in the world.
So go back. They earned how much last year?
178.5.
178.5 last year. The bulk of that's TV. Also, Newcastle has a huge stadium and has a big crowd.
Yes.
Now,
126 in broadcast, 28 commercial, 24 match day. Yeah.
Now, you drop down. You run that risk. You drop down. Last time they dropped down, they said they took a £90 million hit in that year in the championship. That's down to those TV numbers. You're not getting the same TV numbers in the championship that you get for being in the Premier League. That's massive. Also other hits along the way, but it's the TV side. So you're talking about cutting your revenue in half, maybe more, if you drop. Also watching your manager walk away. And then you go from being a top 20 club in the world. And the reason why Newcastle is a top 20 club in the world in terms of the Deloitte Money League is because of the TV deals with the Premier League. It's that simple. It's not anything Newcastle's doing. It's the fact that they're in the Premier League, which has the richest TV deals in the world. If you're not in the Premier League anymore, you're not that club anymore. And I don't think they bounce back immediately if they fall. So if you keep playing this dangerous game, you're going to get burned at some point. Because this has been a decade of Newcastle being, I don't know. We'll see. But back to the question from Dribble about Darren using the connections to light a fire under Newcastle. Would not surprise me a bit. It's a smart play. You need more bidding to come into this. You need to put even more pressure on Newcastle because for whatever reason, Mike Ashley is more concerned with HMV and failed retail stores than getting this deal done for Newcastle. So you got to do something to get their attention. If TalkSport running this is something that says, okay, well, look, maybe we're going to have to do this, then that's where you're at. The flip side is it honestly does make some sense. Yeah. Tottenham's got some problems at the moment with injury. And they've got, a few big games coming up. Just a few. It's a deal that does make sense. And our buddies over at the subreddit, Atlanta United subreddit, if you're not following them on Twitter, by the way, to keep up with what's going on, I am getting more and more into the Reddit world. I'm not all the way in there yet. So at our Atlanta United is very useful for when I know I need to be over there. They have a question. If we have an agreement on a Miggy transfer future dated to summer transfer, would that work? You'd have to... Now, the question would be in terms of the loan, salary requirements, and who's paying it and all that. He's not a young designated player like Barco. So I believe it is a different conversation. But if it is a loan with an obligation to buy in the summer, and that's different than an option. If it's a loan, basically that, look, we can't cut the check today, but we can cut the check in July, and we're good for it, and we're guaranteeing that that's what's going to happen. Yeah, I think that clears the spot, and then Miguel he can't play here and do that. That's the thing is, you're not going to be able to transfer him, have him loaned back for 6 months, but not in a designated player spot. That's not going to happen. The league's not going to allow that because of his original deal here. So not going to be able to get that sneaky. But if it has to be that type of situation, which I believe was speculated about a month ago, maybe. It's not ideal, but if that's the way to do it, that's the way to do it. If you know you're going to make $30 million in July as opposed to January, it could work. The subreddit had another question, and Jarrett, I want to get your take here. Announcing Pitti today, do you think that hurts any negotiation powers about deals for Almiron, or if that doesn't work, deals for Barco?
At this point, no. It's just at this point, I think they've, whether or not we hear from things, I think they're working on stuff, and there's always stuff going on behind the scenes. I think at this point, it's kind of separate. If it was impacting leverage, it would have been happening before now, because this was not exactly the best kept secret in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think this is going to have an effect. You need to get something done, and nobody is surprised by that. So, again, you have a couple of options. You have the window closing in a week. That's going to affect Miguel more than anything. But if you're not able to get a deal for Miguel, if you get closer to that date and it just doesn't look like the money is going to be there that you want, remember, Club America has been linked to seemingly every MLS player about their interest in loan or buy. Maybe that becomes a loan option for an Ezequiel Barco. Don't know. There's also Argentina. There's also Brazil. There's options here, whether it's January 31st or whether it's into February, to make the roster be compliant. And that's Atlanta's ultimate goal. Joe Laszlo asked if the designated player limit applies to CONCACAF matches. You're not going to be able to pull that off because you will, as I've said many times, you will never be able to convince a player to be a part-time player and only be available for CONCACAF Champions League. It's not going to happen. And I believe the rules for CONCACAF Champions League about rosters are that they have to be approved by their league. So you have to be roster compliant according to your league's rules. That's where you're at. So it's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to convince somebody to be off the league roster, but yeah, you can play in maybe a maximum of 8 CONCACAF Champions League games until you get to July. No top player is going to ever agree to that. I know it sounds nice and it would help the club, but no top player would ever agree to that. Never going to happen. It's really down to that. It's just as simple as that. And I know we're trying to make it more complicated to find a new solution, but it is honestly as simple as you're going to have Miguel Almiron or Ezequiel Barco off of the roster by the time the roster has to be compliant on March 1st. And you solve that via transfer or loan. And there are different situations for either one. And I think it's obvious that the Miguel transfer is your plan A, but doesn't mean it goes down that way. There are other ways to solve it, but it's down to clearing one of those two off of your roster via transfer or loan by March 1st. And you have those outgoing or those incoming deadlines in other leagues that you have to work around. That's where you're at. So we'll be talking a lot about transfer windows for the next week, that's for sure. Don't think anything's changed there. That was already the plan. We'll get you updated on everything else, Newcastle and other potential landing spots for Miguel Almiron. More of your comments as well on a Thursday Thoughts edition of the show. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, January 24th edition. Pity Martinez is officially an Atlanta United player. The team just tweeted out, when hashtag announce Pity ends. Very nice. Because that was getting to be a thing. And, was that him in training? I believe it is. Sneaky. Very sneaky. I like it, Atlanta United. Playing a little soccer tennis, it appears. Nice work. Pity Martinez will be introduced to the media tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I would assume that everybody will be there for that. It will be a happening at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. And there will probably be lots of questions about how you get roster compliant. And that's something that will be talked about from now until it's done. Hopefully, when the transfer window in Europe closes next week. Maybe not. So get ready for Transfer Saga Part 2. Joe Boss said, so Pitti can start training today, right? Sure. If he hasn't been already. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he has. Not every session is open to the media, so, just saying. Could have been some things. Maybe he was training in an off-site location. I don't know. I think he'll be just fine. I think there was a lot of unnecessary worry about him not getting to train quickly enough. He'll be okay. The extra break was probably good for him. He kind of had a crazy December in terms of matches and River Plate, Copa Libertadores, and World Club Cup, and lots of travel and lots of things. So a little bit of an extended break is probably pretty good for him. Rock the Brock G on Twitter. Brock, what's up? Question. If MLS allowed all teams to have 4 to 6 designated players but only allowed to plug 3 onto a game day roster, the league keeps its parity and MLS teams win CONCACAF Champions League. It's never going to happen again because you're not going to have a player agree to come of that caliber who's going to be a designated player. You're talking about the best of the best who are not going to be able to play every game. It's not going to happen. I don't. This is where, it comes up a lot when we talk about solutions to these things, and it's, there's an injury at forward. So Tottenham right now. Tottenham fans went through this as well. Harry Kane's injured. He's out till March. Oh, my gosh, let's go get Gonzalo Higuain. Well, why? Because when Harry Kane's back, Gonzalo Higuain's going to go to the bench. You think he's going to be happy with that? You think he's going to come and say, well, yeah, I'll be a starter for 2 months, and then I have to go sit on the bench? No. It's not going to happen. You got to think about the other side of this, too. Players want to play. You can't just sign 30 starting level players on a roster because you have a 30-man roster. They're not going to do it. Players want, if they're signed and they're a starting level player, they're going to want to start. And if they don't, they're not going to be happy. It's just not going to work. Something that has to be considered when we talk about solutions, we talk about these things. It's not realistic. And that's what it comes down to right now. We'll see. I mean, we'll see where they do. I think they need to go to 4 designated players, but I think they also need to clean up the allocation money stuff, and general and targeted allocation money needs to be bundled a little bit more. I'd rather see just an increase in the cap, let teams, sink or swim a little bit more in how they want to spend that cap money, as opposed to targeted allocation money, which has served a good purpose in raising the level because it made teams spend in a certain way. Maybe you need to keep an element of that because it does increase the overall quality and doesn't get you bloated situations. But I think you can avoid that with the maximum salary and designated player rules. I think you still have some limits on it, and it can work if you just add the allocation money to the cap. That stuff's beyond me a little bit in terms of being a capologist, so I will leave that to smarter people who will be negotiating the next CBA. But these are things that need to be talked about. And then I think the league owners really do need to sit down and have a conversation about the strategic plan from now through 2026. Because this is a huge opportunity to grow, and it seems like you need to strike while the iron's hot, and it's pretty freaking hot right now. So don't keep these caps on growing the league. I think it's time to look beyond it. I really do. I think now is the time that if teams want to spend more, they can actually spend it wisely. They don't have to spend it on a 36-year-old player who is all you can get for spending your big money. I think you can now start to get South American Players of the Year and such. It's time to grow, and hopefully the league will do it. But you have to also, when we're thinking about these solutions, you just have to be realistic about it, Jarrett. I mean, how many times have we seen a player in any sport be a backup, then outgrow that role and want to be a starter, and then the team has to make a decision because nobody's happy just sitting on the bench?
Yeah, I mean, guys want to win, but they want to play and they want to be a part of that win. It's just part of the progression. I mean, you're going to have these. We had this. I thought we had a similar conversation last year, and then going into this year now with a guy like a Mikey Ambrose who, went from being, a depth piece in MLS, who's really taken the steps in the last year to looking more and more like an MLS ready guy. Who I was wondering if he was going to be here this year because I figured, Ambrose is going to want to start somewhere. Guys don't want to sit on the bench forever. They want to go out there and compete and win. And, I mean, sometimes, that means moving on. You don't get to keep the same team every year as much as we want to, as much as we might romanticize the idea. You don't keep the same roster year after year. But I think at the same time, it's what makes those great rosters and those great years mean even more to us. Because when we do have something amazing happen, we look back on that roster and the tributes and honors for those teams because they're generally a 1 or 2 year thing and they're gone.
ATL UTD fan number 1, Joe asks, I'm sure there's a reason to why Atlanta United paid the transfer the way they did to River Plate, and we'll break down what's been reported in just a minute. And Joe asks, could this be what Doug Robertson mentioned the other day as a way we can keep all 4? Joga Benito USA, this is a reminder. This was published in, I believe, Diario Ole in Argentina. It was probably right before the end of the year. That the deal to get him was not just to pay the $15 million release clause. It was $12.57 million up front. Again, this is reported. We don't know if this is exactly accurate, but it's probably in the ballpark. $10 million cash to River Plate, $2.57 million in taxes and other fees, plus $1.5 million if he starts 10 games in 2019, which you would expect. Friendly between the teams, and River gets the proceeds to that. That's a different one in how you would account for it in terms of cap and designated player. But the $10 million up front makes him a designated player, Joe. There's no way to avoid that unless you're somehow signing him to a 10-year deal where that $10 million would be spread over 10 years, so it's a $1 million cap hit, and then you're somehow paying him less than $530,000 a year. It's unlikely. It's not going to happen. It's probably a 4 to 5 year deal, and probably a salary of, comparable to what, Miguel and Barco have been on. You're probably talking in the 1.5 to maybe a little bit more range. He's going to be a designated player. So the $10 million transfer fee, remember, the way that goes into effect if a player is a designated player or not, it's spread over the life of the deal. So the longer the deal, the less of a hit it is. But as we just said, if it's a 10-year deal, which is not going to happen, and it's $1 million a year, he can't be making more than $530,000, and that's not going to happen either. So he's going to be a designated player. You're not going to be able to have all four outside of a rule change, and that would be the absolute least likely way for this to happen. So that's. I know everybody wants to find a way. I get it, but it's time to be realistic about the situation here. And this is what it's down to. Miguel Almiron, the plan is to find him a home and be paid handsomely for it. That's plan A. If that doesn't happen, you have to create a roster spot with a loan, and Barco would be the one because you're not going to loan Pitti, you're not going to loan Joseph. You're probably not going to loan Miguel unless it is part of a transfer. So that's where you're at. I know it's not what everybody wants to hear because you want to keep every player all the time. And as Jarrett said, it's not possible. Whether it's a backup who is becoming a starter, a player who has outperformed an initial contract and there's just not room to re-sign them, or a situation like this where you have a limit on designated players and you're up against it.
And that's just how. No, I was listening, and for me, the 10-year, $10 million deal. It's that reminds me of some of those backloaded NHL contracts with stars to try to avoid salary cap.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you said backloaded because that's something that Tenorio talked about in his monster piece about how these things go. You can't do that either, so don't suggest it. You can't backload it and try to get around the designated player rule because it's divided over the life of the deal. So I'm glad you mentioned backloaded because that's not going to work either.
And I was, as Jason, you were talking about that, I was staring at the news out of Dallas.
Okay, what is it?
Looks like that Chris Richards.
Oh, no, we've known that. We've known that one, but now it's just more details on it.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris Richards,
more
the
details.
buyer. Yeah. Go ahead.
Million. It looks like, according to Ivis Galarsep and Sam Stejkal, it is now FCD getting $1.25 million up front, and the fee could rise to just north of $5 million if Richards hits various performance incentives. Dallas gets a percentage of any fee if he's sold by Bayern. Officially completed sale.
It's better than what they got for Weston McKennie, which was $0. It's not great, but this is also a player who hasn't played in MLS, hasn't really broken in. So you're getting 1.25 for an academy product. I think down the road, Dallas will be able to get more for these types of players because they can actually play professionally with North Texas SC. And by all accounts, their plan is to push young players into the starting lineup faster than they ever have before. Because 1.25 for a young player is really not much. Now, it could get to 5, and you're going to get a sell-on, and those things are good. But you want to get more for your top young talent, and Chris Richards is a top young talent in the United States. So you want to see those numbers go up. Again, this is why Atlanta is being very stubborn, according to some, firm, according to others, in their valuation of Miguel Almiron. Miguel Almiron and Chris Richards are in two different situations completely, but you're not going to start getting more for your Chris Richards if you don't maximize this Miguel Almiron deal, because that will start to set a market for MLS, and it will raise the level that people look at this league, and especially look at it as from a business perspective of, okay, this is one of their top players. This is what he went for. What about a guy who's breaking in? You could see this type of deal go up to maybe $3 million off the jump, maybe $5 million off the jump for a top young talent. It's getting in that direction, but you have to hold firm sometimes. And that's why when people say Atlanta United has no leverage, I really push back on it. Because they do. They have a way to find a home for Barco if they need to. Will it be difficult? Sure. Are you going to have to figure that out? Yeah. Is it something you want to do? No, probably not. But you have leverage. And the reason why you need to use every bit of it is to do this. So Chris Richards goes for more than 1.25 up front. You want to see these situations happen for the league overall. And I think Atlanta United takes it seriously to be that trailblazer for the league. So they're going to try to get the most they possibly can from Miguel Almiron. And I disagree with takes that, well, they just have to sell. They just have to sell. It's good enough. They just have to sell. Why do you want to be difficult? Because you can and because you should be. Because you take yourself seriously and you take this league seriously. And it's time to stop being that where we're just a nice little American soccer club, and, yeah, we should just sell him because somebody came to us with an offer. We should just do it. No, stop. Stop that. Get the most you can in this deal because that's what any club in the world would do. And that's, I think, what they're going to do here. So it's going to be a fun ride, and there's going to be bumps along the way, but that's where you're at. The Chris Richards deal is interesting. I'm just a little surprised that it's so low up front. I think it does need to get to a point where you're getting more than that for your top young players in the country. You really do.
And I was going to say, go ahead. All right.
Four-card Ahmed asked, what if Joseph got a green card? It has nothing to do with designated players. And this has been an ongoing thing where international slots and designated players have nothing to do with one another. And I believe Joseph has a green card, actually, anyway. Didn't he get that last season? I'm 100%. I'm 99.5% sure that happened. So it doesn't matter if Julian Gressel got a green card, if anybody got a green card. It doesn't matter if Miguel Almiron got a green card. It doesn't matter for designated players. So nothing to do with that. Designated players based on acquisition cost and salary, and that's it. Doesn't matter where they're from. Doesn't matter what their national status is. It's something. As Wakatata Flame says, doesn't it feel like Kenwin and Mears were on this team 5 years ago? The growth speed of this team is nuts.
Put some respect on Anton Walker's name.
Well, that's actually a good point. Your starting right back in 2017 was loaned from Tottenham and it's now playing at Portsmouth. That was your starting right back in, a postseason run in your first year. Now you're going and signing the South American Player of the Year. That's a big jump. That's a big, big jump in a couple of years. So that's the new world Atlanta United's operating in. It's going to be fun to see this, and a lot of people are going to have a lot of thoughts about how this next week goes. We'll keep sharing ours with you. Thanks for listening. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Thursday Thoughts after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Thursday Thoughts edition of Soccer Down here. We've had lots of thoughts on Pity Martinez being officially announced by Atlanta United. Lots of thoughts on how roster issues will get solved. Tofka TLC with some thoughts on Miguel Almiron to Spurs and why it makes some sense for this conversation to even be happening. He says it makes sense for the future, too. They've sold Dembele. Eriksson is likely gone in the summer. Miggy could have a starting 11 spot in 6 months with little to no fuss and some major profits for Spurs. Smooth transition. For clarity, he'd be able to solve the injury issues right now and have a starting spot of his own come summer. It's a riskier move to Spurs, John. I mean, it's a higher-level club. You would expect that if you're bringing in Eriksson money, maybe you're going to bring in an Eriksson-like replacement with said money. Maybe not.
Yeah.
It would feel a little bit more like an audition during these injury issues right now for him to show that, hey, you don't need to go spend that. I can take this now. It makes sense on a couple different fronts, but I think it's a riskier move because they could go out and upgrade even more from him in the summer because Spurs is just a bigger club.
Yeah, Spurs are looking for $100 million for any kind of a transfer for Eriksson, and they're currently the discussions with Real Madrid, but Real doesn't want to give that kind of cash, and they're looking for a little less cash in James Rodriguez right now, who's on loan elsewhere. And for me, yeah, with the injury issues, it was a point that you were talking about earlier in the show. With injuries, people come back. And then what are you going to do when those folks come back? You know, you're going to want to be in a place where you're going to want to play and prove your worth. And with Dele injured and with Harry Kane injured, there's, you know, right now they're going to come back by all indications. And so it would be a short-term thing for Miggy to sit there and say, yeah, I can do this, and then have Spurs figure out where they want to go from here. And that's why, for me, it's still something like a Newcastle, West Ham kind of a thing. And Spurs, while they are in the discussion, I'm not having them as my number one.
It's a lot to spend for an injury replacement and an audition. It is. But you also have a lot of connections that maybe you're looking at this as a little more involved, Jarrett, because I'm sure Tata Martino and Mauricio Pochettino have had conversations about Miguel Almiron. I'm sure Darren Eales has had conversations with people at Tottenham about Miguel Almiron. He's not an unknown quantity here. It's not a, man, we got to get somebody on loan super fast because we've got a ton of injuries. It's a known factor and a player that you could see with Tottenham after the injuries are resolved and after some other moves are made in the summer. He's a player who could fit there.
I mean, yeah, it can go a lot of different ways. I mean, again, we've got 7 days left. We've got 7 days for this all to just get sideways, upside down, inside out, degloved, everything, man. This can get fun and get sideways, and a lot of it does make sense. And you never want to see people get injured, but Tottenham kind of opened that door with, you know, a MASH unit developing in London.
Yeah, and with what they have coming up, they might have to be pretty bold in making a move. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting here. Austin, Bringing the Beef, shares the Pity Martinez interview issued by Atlanta United. Said, everyone talked about Tata being the key to the South American pipeline, but don't underestimate LGP's influence. And this is from that interview. Pity was asked, have you ever played with or against any of your new teammates in Atlanta? He said, I think I played against Miguel at Lanús. He's a great player. He's demonstrated that here also. Those are nice moments that you remember, and now I have the possibility to share the field with him. And I'm sure that quote will get overreacted about quite a bit. And Pizzi said, I talked often with Leandro. From the very beginning, he spoke highly of the club and about the group. He's helped me and guided me a little in regards to the club, the city, and he convinced me to take this step. We've talked about Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez as a potential captain for this club down the road, and again, it's another move, not the first time, that LGP has been mentioned as a big part of it for the player who's coming here.
I mean, we could have a more difficult conversation for people, which
Go
is...
ahead. What is it?
LGP could be captain. Well, LGP be here long enough to be the captain.
Also possible.
Because LGP's profile is going up and up. And I could see a world where people start coming in and dropping offers for LGP, and everybody has a price. And especially if that means for him, and he's been vocal about it, he wants to play for Argentina's national team. That's a big point of pride for him. If he gets that opportunity and the price tag's right, Atlanta could be on the lookout for another center back.
Because that's the life of a big club. And
yes.
that's what happens. If you
doesn't
bring
mean
in somebody,
anybody failed.
No, far from it. I mean, and that's where Atlanta is right now, and that's where MLS is right now. That's okay. You're going to get players to come in, and they're going to perform well, and you're going to potentially make money on transfers to sell them on. You can't be afraid of that if you're this league anymore. And I think Don Garber's preparing that situation more and more, because what did he say? I believe at the All-Star game, and I know he said it around MLS Cup, and I know he said it at the State of the League, that MLS needs to become more of a selling league. If you don't have the TV money that in England has, what is your next route to revenue and big revenue? Transfers. Investing in a player and then transferring them on and turning a profit. It's what you do. That's how you do this. Atlanta has a revenue stream that others don't have to the same level in terms of just flat-out tickets because of what they're drawing. It changes it a little bit. But for MLS, right now, while you don't have that kind of TV money that you're seeing in England and in other countries, transfers are a way to grow this league. Yes, it means players are going to come here and then move on, but the idea is not that, okay, Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez gets an offer from Valencia in Spain, in La Liga, and he's going to go there and be a starter, and he's going to be part of the Argentine national team. That's a great thing for everybody. He goes. You make a nice profit on Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez. You're not going to then throw your hands up and say, well, I don't know what we're going to do at center back. Who wants to do it? You're going to either have a player ready who is already on your roster. You're going to have a player ready from your academy, or you're going to go spend it on a player. That's what you do. That's how you continue to grow. Tottenham has done a lot of that, John. I mean, and Tottenham's a big club. Tottenham has done plenty of this where they buy a player, they perform really well, or they develop a player, they perform really well, and they sell them on for big money. Mr. Gareth Bale is an example.
Yes. And this is one of the things that I have, been seeing with Atlanta United ever since they started. The idea of being of that the European model, the one that we're used to seeing, where you either develop talent, you bring in talent, they improve, whether it's through your own academy or on your squad, you sell them off, you reinvest, you bring in more talent, you bring up more talent, you sell them off, you reinvest. And so for me, this is the first instance of a team in MLS that's constantly doing this and thinking in this manner. And to be a team to be legitimately considered as a trading partner and an investing partner in the European theater or in other leagues that you perceive to be higher on the food chain than MLS, this is what you do. I mean, this is just part of the deal.
Who is not a selling club? Is there one that is not a selling club?
Not really. I mean, the numbers are different depending on who you're talking about when it comes to the
Not
clubs,
about
but they're all
numbers.
selling.
Who doesn't sell?
Yeah.
Exactly. Real Madrid. Oh, they don't sell. They just buy players. Cristiano Ronaldo was a pretty big sale. Just saying. Barcelona. They don't sell. Neymar. These things do happen. Every club will sell when the numbers are right. That's the business. It's what you do. MLS needs to embrace it, and Atlanta is. And hopefully it pushes things forward. You buy and you sell and you do both, and that's how you continue to bring more money in and continue to grow. Now, in a perfect world, you get to a point where you're not selling as much. You get to a point where players want to be here longer. You're kind of already at that point. Ask Joseph Martinez about it. But long term, you'd love to be at that point where you are far more choosy about when you want to sell or when you need to sell or when the time is right to sell. Not quite there yet. You don't get there if you don't join the market. And I think you're seeing it more and more now where that market is really changing for MLS. It's exciting. It's really exciting to see and to watch and to see this league's growth. Let's take a break, come back, wrap everything up. Final call for Thursday thoughts. Please tweet them at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Final segment, Soccer Down Here, January 24th. Pity Martinez is officially part of Atlanta United now. And Rafa Benitez has a player, John?
A player. They've agreed on a loan deal. Yes, a player. Newcastle have agreed on a loan deal for Lazio left back Jordan Lukaku.
Oh, they have a left back. Very nice. They needed one of
Yes,
those.
they have a left back for the remainder of the season.
But that was one of the things that Rafa Benitez reportedly told the club was, I need a left back and I need an attacking player. Well, you might have your left back. Are you going to get the deal done on Miguel Almiron to be that attacking player? That was the one that Rafa Benitez said he wanted from day one. We'll see. But they added a player. They're doing something. They had to at least sacrifice a little bit of the money towards those end caps for the next big DVD at HMV. They put that towards Jordan Lukaku. So maybe they'll sacrifice an HMV store to get the deal done for Miguel Almiron. Who knows?
And West Ham manager Manuel Pellegrini says Marco Arnautovic's future remains unsolved amid continued interest in the striker from China.
You're running out of time to solve it. Well, I don't know China's
Chicharito.
incoming transfer window, so that maybe they're not. But if you're going to replace him, you're running out of time to solve it.
Yeah, Chicharito, Obiang, Arnautovic at West Ham, and maybe even Andy Carroll.
I don't know. The Red Bulls have an issue at the moment with Kaku. This thing just keeps getting more and more interesting. His agent gave an interview and talked to ESPN Mexico and said that at Club America sent an offer for $7 million. The Red Bulls countered with 12. Kaku tweeted this. It's translated, but he said, "Don't give up. Sometimes the last key is the one that opens the door." The two emojis after it were a 4-leaf clover and an eagle. Club America is known as Las Águilas, the Eagles. Looks like Kaku is wanting out of New York. How are they going to handle this? And are they going to take a small profit to get an unhappy player out of their roster, or are they going to play hardball? That's the difference. And so many people have wanted to say, like, what about Miguel Almiron being unhappy? He's not tweeting things about magpies. Kaku is tweeting
That'd
things
be
about
amazing
Eagles.
if he found a magpie emoji.
If there's a magpie emoji for Newcastle, yes, that would be unbelievable. If that came into this whole thing, oh my God. Well, it's not yet, and you haven't seen anything like that. So that's another one of those things that I think you're trying to find. I've seen a lot of articles about it where it feels like writers are trying to find a hook, and it's not there. So Kaku and the Red Bulls. Do you think he's part of their roster on opening day, Jarrett?
At this point, no. Just the direction it's been going, I'm entitled to. I'm inclined to say no. At this point, it just doesn't feel. It feels like we're just kind of careening in the direction of a sale at a really high rate of speed right now, and there's not a lot that's going to stop it right now.
Other than New York being stubborn, and it's a tricky spot, Jarrett. It's a tricky spot.
It is, but I feel like if they keep him right now, if he's getting this salty about stuff, I mean, how poisonous are you going to poison things? How poisonous do you make it if you're New York? Do you keep a guy through till the summer window, a guy who may not want to be there? How much, what are you going to get from him, I guess?
Yeah, that's the issue, is that you're talking about a player that, I mean, when you tweet, "Don't give up, sometimes the last key is the one that opens the door," and you've got an eagle emoji, and you're being linked to the Eagles, that's pretty public, I don't know, John, if you can afford to keep him. I know you want to set the market. I know you want to make as much money as possible, and that is a big part of all of this. But you have lost leverage if you are the Red Bulls with Kaku's tweet.
Yep. And now the question is, how much hardball can you play between now and a week from now and then roster compliance day?
Because Mexico's incoming window is the same as Europe. It's January 31st.
Different hours, though, because of this hemisphere as opposed to overseas. So that gives you, what, a whole other 5 hours to play with to try to get a deal done?
You got a week. A week and 12 hours is what it looks like.
Yeah. So I think that Kaku has forced their hand with social media. And this is another one of those storylines that you put out there for the following week, is, trying to keep an eye on what's going to happen here. And I mean, do you sit there and meet in the middle at 10 and sit there and call it a deal?
If you can, yes. I think you have to get this done and move on as soon as you can. Because if you're the Red Bulls, you have to then figure out a replacement. And maybe that's a reason why Mark Shatkovsky was brought back into camp, because you didn't pick up his deal coming into this year. I was a little confused as to why. It's a big number, but he was a really impressive player, and I think he fits the system really well. If you move on from Kaku, maybe you turn some of that money into making Shatkovsky a permanent addition, and that's your guy. The Red Bulls are in a different situation because of the system and how important it is, so they have a little different way, I think, of looking at acquisitions. But in terms of making this move, I don't know how much you can risk an unhappy Kaku being part of this, because he didn't really do much for you in the second half of the season last year. Is his unhappiness part of the fact that he's not really getting to be a playmaker because of the way the Red Bulls play? Don't know. But it's obvious that he wants more money, and it's obvious that the fact that somebody has come in, a big club has come in, and he would be making more money and maybe playing in a different role. And now he's made it clear that he would like that opportunity. The Red Bulls are up against it here, and I don't know what they're going to be able to do with it. Other things that are out there, Brian Sciaretta tweeted that he had heard a significant offer for Kellen Acosta was rejected by Colorado. It was from an English club. Acosta was also dropped from the U.S. men's national team roster for its upcoming friendlies. Jarrett, before we close out, Kellen Acosta's decline from, 2 years ago? 2.5 years ago?
Amazing.
It's mind-blowing. It really is. He's got a big year in front of him in Colorado.
I have so many questions about him. Yeah. And I still like Kellen Acosta a lot, but liking him is one thing. And, to keep that like, he's got to, actually produce beyond just, 2 or 3 games he had in Colorado that were really good when he got there. And then it just kind of leveled off like it had in Dallas. So at some point, you got to flip the engine over here. You got to go.
Yeah, this is the biggest year of his career by far. It's a big year for Colorado. He'll have a lot of expectations there as they're trying to upgrade from where they were last year, and he's going to be a big part of it. But if he wants to get these types of offers and wants to get back in the national team picture, I think his performances just have to be more consistent. Lots of action around the league. We'll be talking about it tomorrow. Friday Flashback Edition. We'll have a Friday Flashback question of the day in the morning for you guys. And if you have any suggestions, tweet them at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll talk a lot about what's going on around the league and try to kind of update you on activity, incoming, outgoing, what the rest of Major League Soccer is going to look like in 2019. That'll be a big part of tomorrow's show, along with updates from the Pity Martinez press conference, which will be at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Good time today. Thanks for all the great responses on Twitter. Much plati, y'all.
Much plati, y'all.
Mucha pity, y'all.